Hello fellow haunters, welcome to Grunge Haunts and Props. My name is Chris Leonardo and today we are going to be making a coffin crown. We made an open coffin video a little while ago and we've had a ton of requests from viewers to make the crown or lid to that coffin. So today that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it, and we're going to do it for less than $6. So follow along and enjoy the video. Okay, we are going to make a lid for the coffin that we made. It's going to be super easy, inexpensive, using the same half-inch foam here that we got at Home Depot. It's an 8x4 sheet. It's got the kind of aluminum sheathing on one side and then just plastic on the other. So we're just going to start by peeling off this aluminum sheathing and plastic. Okay, we've got the majority of the plastic off. We would probably only need maybe a quarter or a half of this foam board. You know, these boards are only, I mean, they're less than $10. They're like $9.60. So we're gonna be using literally like $4 of material to make this lid, which, you know, is pretty inexpensive. Now you notice on this, this has like a grain here, kind of natural foam grain when they extrude it, and we're going to use that. This is going to be a kind of our grain for our wood. So we're going to make sure we do everything, you know, with the grain. But yeah, so we peeled that off and we're ready to get going. So this is the coffin we made from the other video. You definitely want to check that out. It shows you how to make this coffin. But because we're not using like wood frame or anything like that, and it's just that great stuff, there aren't exact dimensions on this. So we're just going to use the coffin and trace it, just trace an outline on it for the dimensions of the lid. So I'm just going to place it down here and mark it really quick. Makes it pretty easy. Okay, we'll set this aside and we'll cut these down. So we're just using a metal T-square and an X-Acto knife here to cut these. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough. And now we're going to make some trim boards and glue those on. So for the trim pieces, I'm just going to cut out about 4 inches wide strips, and they don't have to be perfect lengths because, you know, you can just make it as separate boards for each trim piece. So I'm going to kind of use some of the scrap, and then of course the end piece here that I'm, you know, wouldn't be able to use for anything else, and just start cutting some strips. Okay, we have all the trim pieces cut. Now we're just going to glue them all down. Cut them as we go. I want to put them about 3/4 to a full inch over the edge. Okay, we got all the trim on here. Now we're going to start using a wood carver to make this look like rotting wood. All right, first step, we're going to use a wire brush here just to make kind of indication of wood grain on all of the styrofoam. Don't want to go too deep with this. You know, with the XPS foam, you could make a lot deeper grooves with a wire brush, but with the styrofoam, you can just do very light strokes because it'll rip apart the styrofoam if you go with too much pressure. So we're gonna do that now, and then we'll get ready to use the wood burning tool. Now we're just going to mark some indications of where we want to use the wood burning tool. Doesn't have to be perfect, and you know, it's more of a guideline than anything. So I'm just going to mark this up with a pen and you know, kind of plan out where I want my knots and stuff like that. All right, now we're ready to start burning it. So we have to remember, you know, this is only a 1/2 inch thick. We don't want to go too deep. So on these, especially on these lines here, I'm gonna try to make them a little wider and not so deep. Usually when I go, you know, wide, I'll use the fatter end, and then when I do smaller scratches, I'll just flip it over and use the kind of sharp end of this wood burning tool. You want to wear a respirator. Okay, and I think we're done. Now we're gonna put some texture pieces on. I'm gonna put some skull or spikes here. I gotta put one 1/2 skull, I think, right here. And I'll glue those bad boys on, and then we're ready to paint. Okay, so I've placed the spikes and skull kind of where I want to put this on here, and we're gonna go ahead and just quickly pre-paint the spikes and the skull a little bit, and then we'll glue them on. So for the spikes, you can actually order these on Amazon, just styrofoam cones, pretty inexpensive. I use a mold for it, but same way I do all my spikes. Basically, I do just kind of a rust color. This is a fabric paint, but rust color on the exterior, and then I'll come back in with some black. So for the half skull, we're going to do black and the eye sockets, deep shadows. If you know, I highly recommend going ahead and checking out our other videos on how to make these with Loctite foam. Pretty easy and inexpensive. So I use these half skulls and full skulls on most of my projects. So got several videos on how to do that. Also, you can make just, Loctite bones by just sculpting them with your hands. So all sorts of fun things you can do with Loctite foam. So yeah, we're gonna do black in the shadows, and then just do a little bit of brown khaki on this as a pre-paint before we put it onto the lid. Okay, we don't want full coverage on this because we're gonna be doing a black wash on top of it. So, but that looks pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and let this dry, and then we'll start placing it on the lid. Okay, now we're gonna glue the spikes and skull on here real quick, and then we're ready to paint. Put a little bit of the Loctite foam around the skull just so it looks like it's either on a plaque or coming out of the wood somehow. It looks a little odd, just stuck there right on the wood. So we're gonna sculpt something around it. Just spray some water on it and come back in 5 minutes to sculpt it. Okay, we're just kind of knocking it down here a little bit. I probably waited about 3 minutes. So it's a little bit sticky still. Okay, I think that looks pretty good, and we're gonna let that dry, and we're finally gonna paint, I promise. Okay, so to start out, we're just gonna paint black on the underside. Shouldn't be very visible, but we definitely don't want, the white styrofoam to be peeking out if we decide we want to have the lid open or whatever. So, when we're doing spray paint on styrofoam, you want to stay back a good bit, probably at least 16 inches, because the spray paint will melt the foam. So you have to be really careful with that. And I usually try to just dust it without any real concentrated amount of spray paint in any one area. So just be careful and mindful of that. Okay, so to paint the front side, I'm just going to use a little bit of black around the spikes and skull, but I'm going to use my camo paints that I really love from Lowe's. I'll do dark brown in all of the shadow areas, cracks between the boards, and then I'll do a kind of a khaki as a kind of a light dusting of the khaki, and then just the green, a couple spots here and there for make it look like there's some moss maybe growing or something like that. Okay, we're gonna let that dry a little bit, and then we're gonna do a black wash. So I've mixed my black wash. I'm sure you've seen on other videos. Basically, I just use a $1 6-ounce acrylic paint from the dollar store. Put the whole container in here, and then fill the rest of the way up with water. A couple drops of dish soap, and that's it. Okay, we're gonna let this dry up, and it should lighten up as it dries. And then we'll do some touch-ups, and then we're going to do a little bit of dry brush on the spikes here. So for the dry brush on the spikes, I'm going to just use it's like a metallic aluminum spray paint, and then just a small little dollar store brush, throwaway brush. Alright, I'm gonna put this in the sun and let it dry. And here is the final product. A creepy coffin crown. Hey, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please like this video. If you are a haunter or Halloween enthusiast, consider subscribing to our channel so you can get notifications and updates anytime we put out new content. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy haunting!